Oh, wow. Sorry about that, y'all. Hey, guys. How's it going? It's Joy. I am back again with another live, guys. Welcome. So, today has been a pretty interesting day. Just finished a podcast episode. She might be watching now, but her name is Becky Garrison. I want to spend a special shout out, to her. She actually just launched her new book called Gaslighting for God. So, you guys, I do highly recommend checking that book out. I'm going to leave the link below if you guys want to learn more about that. And also, don't forget, you guys, we're going to be doing meet and greet events in person in multiple different states. So, if you guys want to learn more on how you can contribute to that or how you can be a part of it, how you can get involved, please feel free to leave a contribution today. It's definitely truly appreciated. I don't know if I shared with you guys the goal. That the goal that I have set for that particular campaign, I would like to try to meet it by the end of this month or for sure in February. So if you guys want to learn more about that, maybe if you want to be a guest speaker, if you want to have a vendor, sort of a part of the contribution, please reach out. Or if you want to do some sort of collaboration, would love to hear from you. And for those of you that have donated already, thank you so much. I truly do appreciated in advance. Like I said, with your help and with your support, we can make sure that everybody feels seen, heard, and supported in the best way possible with the best resources and all that good stuff and the best materials. Give me 1 second, you guys. Let's see here. I want to check on something. Just maybe this will give some folks enough time to come in the room. I'm not sure who's all going to be on the live. Let's take a look. Let me see something here. So yeah, hold on, y'all. Let's see. All right. So yeah, guys, let's go ahead and get into the topic at hand. And actually, this came from reference from Becky. She was actually discussing this in the interview that we did today. If you guys want to check out that interview, I might try to see if I can get it on YouTube where you guys can download it and you can listen to it. It's actually really, really good. There was a bunch of topics, but I actually wanted to talk about it from my perspective as well, because that was mainly about her. And like I said, she just launched a new book, and apparently, she has already written 6 other books. I think this is going to be her 7th or 8th book. So congratulations and shout out to her. That's extremely inspiring. And what's crazy, like why I resonated with her, and she reached out to me, and you guys can reach out to me, like I said, if you want to collaborate with me in any way, or like I said, contribute to the meet and greet events coming up. But I was really honored that she reached out to me. Like I said, the book is called Gaslighting for God. And you guys know I wrote my book, Employee to Entrepreneur Tips on Surviving a Toxic Work Environment. So make sure you do get your copy of that book as well. But the thing with what I liked about our interview today, we were talking about spiritual narcissists and spiritual narcissism. And I'll do another video on this topic of spiritual narcissism. But the narcissist that I used to work with was actually a spiritual narcissist. So with her, it wasn't like a religious thing. It was more, she used like spirituality and spiritual practices in order to, control, manipulate, and deceive and things like that. So, you do have a lot of narcissists that will do things of that nature. Give me 1 second, y'all. So, hold on, y'all. Yeah. So yeah, like I said, that individual was not in an actual like church environment, but this was an individual that used like particular gifts and skills to try to manipulate a situation, such as divination, oracle means, new age material practices and things like that, which like you guys know that I do readings and things of that nature, but again, you guys know that I use it for the good, so it's no negativity, no trying to harm anybody, no trying to put curses, no spells or anything like that, so huge disclaimer because I know a lot of people can have different misconceptions, so I just kind of wanted to make that clear. Excuse me. And let's see here. I want to check out something while I'm on the live. I want to see. Okay. So yeah, let's go ahead and dive into the topic. So we're going to be talking about what is narcissist collapse, and from pretty much what I learned today, and she used a lot of different references to Donald Trump. Me, like when I discuss narcissism, because I know like certain teachers and certain people that talk about narcissism, they use different examples. Me, I don't go to the spectrum of using examples with people that are like in this like in the news, celebrities and things like that, cuz for me I like to, educate people with like everyday, life as far as like work or school or church environments. Now, as far as the celebrities, and they kind of live in a different world, so I feel like that's for a different type of audience. So I feel like with me, I kind of, you know um I like to educate people that it's like everyday people, because a lot of times people tend to forget about quote unquote everyday people. So I like to really um focus on those type of individuals, because I feel like, they're neglected the most, they're ignored the most, they're abandoned the most. So that's pretty much my focus. But anyways, look, what is narcissistic collapse? So pretty much is basically what I took from it. She mentioned denying the supply, um you know stuff like that. Is She was basically saying like how when the baby doesn't get their way, the baby has like a temper tantrum pretty much, right? So it's like, you, let's say you're in a like a parent and your child doesn't get their way, so they're having an emotional outburst or they're having some sort of rage, so it's like learning to try to cope and how to handle, basically the temper tantrum or the outburst from the child. Basically that's how she kind of compared the narcissist collapse. But like I said, make sure that you guys do watch the interview. You can watch it on my Instagram page. You'll have the link below so that way you guys can tune in. But let's also kind of dive deep here on that topic, because like I said, I've been seeing some videos about it and I was like, huh. But yeah, excuse me. Yeah, it says a narcissistic collapse occurs when a person with NPD personality disorder experiences a severe blow to their self-esteem, such as humiliation, failure, or loss of control. This triggers an intense emotional breakdown, often leading to rage, depression, or withdrawal, as they can no longer maintain their fragile, false image of superiority. And it looks like there's a person that did make a video on this. So that's really good. It looks like it's pretty recent. So a lot of people are kind of gaining awareness on this topic. So that's really good. The more people know, the better, right? And again, and you guys can Google this, but it says stages and signs of narcissistic collapse. It says a collapse happens when a narcissistic supply validation and admiration disappears, causing them to enter a state of panic or despair. This can also represent to the narcissistic collapse. You know what it reminds me of? Of a narcissistic injury. That's what that term also reminds me of also, because it's pretty much the same thing. Like when you're not giving the narcissist attention, you kind of see through the mask. You're like, hey, the jig is up. I see like what you're trying to do. I see the manipulation. I see the games. I see, the lies here. I see through the BS. You know what I mean? So that can represent that as well. So let me see. So yeah, very interesting topic, you guys. Oh, and let me put the link in for Becky's book. I want to put that here as well for those of you that want to look into it. Gaslighting for God, a satirical guide to save yourself from spiritual narcissists. Yeah, that's big because spiritual narcissists are unique. They're not like the normal narcissists. They can come to you and through you through religion or through you in your sleep state, in your dreams, and kind of try to penetrate your mind and get you while you're in a sleep state. So it's a little bit more deceptive, right? But nonetheless, let's see what we got here. So yeah, basically, all right. So initial shock, um, initial shock and denial. So the narcissist is confronted with an event like a divorce, job loss that challenges their grandiosity, defensive aggression, rage. They may lash out, acting vindictive, or using legal, financial, or social sabotage to regain control. Withdrawal / depression. They may retreat, acting victimized, or sinking into deep, silent, or sad state, particularly if they are introverted or covert narcissists. Desperation, recklessness. They might engage in impulsive behavior or try to force new sources of supply. Again, examples of narcissistic collapse. So, exposure, publicly exposing a narcissist, lies or infidelity, loss of control or loss of status. Again, a job loss, bankruptcy, a divorce where they lose control over their partner, no contact. When the victim cuts off all communication, removing the supply, often causing the narcissist to rage, then eventually deflate. So yeah, and it's basically saying how to deal with a narcissist collapse. If you're around a narcissist and maybe you've caused a narcissist collapse or something like that. Pretty much, let's take a look. Yeah, so basically it says dealing with the collapsing narcissist requires caution as they can become dangerous or intensely manipulative, right? So basically maintain no contact. The safest approach is to end all contact to avoid being a target of their rage. And also too, so I mentioned this narcissist collapse term reminds me of narcissist rage, narcissistic injury. You're injuring their false sense of self, you're injuring their ego. You're not feeding into their lies, their BS and stuff like that. So yeah, that's what this reminds me of, very much so. Yeah, and then you set boundaries. So if contact is unavoidable, establish rigid boundaries as explained. Do not argue. Do not try to reason with them or defend yourself. Do not feed their need for drama. And again, seek support as always. Contact friends, family, or professional therapists to navigate the emotional aftermath, right? And trusted friends and family, because not all of your friends and family are people that you can trust. Not all friends and family are people that care about you. You want to make sure that they actually love you and care about you. And you can tell based off of how they treat you, because people can say something, but how do they treat you? That says more than anything, right? So, you do have that. But yeah, I hope that this is helpful. Like I said, this is something that I'm learning too. Like I said, I don't know everything. I don't want you guys to think like, oh, Joy knows everything. No, I don't. I'm still learning like you. I'm a student as well. So I'm just, like I said, just here to share with you guys my personal experience dealing with narcissistic abuse and how this changed my life, and how it's changing other people's lives too, right? But yeah, so now you guys, so we talked about narcissist collapse. Okay. And then for some of you may be like, well, Joy, how long does the narcissist collapse last for? So it says narcissist collapse doesn't adhere to a specific timeline. It says sometimes symptoms only last for a few days, or excuse me, for a few hours. Once the supply is restored, they feel a sense of relief. In a more serious forms of collapse, symptoms can linger for months or years. So it's almost like this too here. It's like, hey, if you were the supply for the narcissist and you're not in contact with them more, let's say you cut them off or you set boundaries, or maybe there was an argument and the narcissist begins to collapse, that kind of thing. So that's something to be mindful of. All right, so the next topic at hand, we're going to discuss Darvo. And like I said from today's interview, I had never really known about this, to be honest with you guys. So, like I said, I'm excited to be sharing with you all this information, and there's more that I'm going to share with you, not in this video. I don't want to make it too long. It is a Sunday, right? But it's good to know. So, Darvo, you guys, does anybody in the room know what Darvo is? If you do, leave a comment below or put it in the chat. If not, Darvo is something that I learned today. So DARVO is an acronym for deny, attack, reverse, victim, and offender. A manipulative psychological tactic used by abusers to evade accountability, developed by Dr. Jennifer Freyd. It involves denying wrongdoing, attacking the accuser, and reversing roles to act as a victim. This tactic is common in intimate partner violence, divorce, and professional settings, causing victims to doubt their reality and experience self-blame. So again, let's kind of break it down. So deny. The perpetrator denies the abuse or wrongdoing occurred. Attack. The perpetrator attacks the person, confronting them, questioning their credibility or sanity, gaslighting, which a narcissist does do. Hence, the narcissist does scapegoat their victims as well. And this happens a lot in like family cults, like narcissistic family cults. They scapegoat, they gaslight, they triangulate, they love bomb, they'll go ghost to, they'll abandon, they'll pin one family member against the other and things like that. But yeah, and then reverse victim and offender. The perpetrator portrays themselves as the true victim, accusing the victim of being the actual offender, which is crazy to me, you guys. So signs and behavior. So again, if you think that somebody might be doing a Darvo on you, so again, it says blame shifting, redirecting responsibility away from themselves, playing the victim, making themselves look like the victim of a vendetta or false accusation, gaslighting, making the victim question their memory or reality, aggressive defense, attacking the victim's character or mental stability. Now, how does Darvo affect the victim? So, for instance, let's say, maybe you had a narcissistic parent and, maybe they Darvoed you or whatever, but it just says recognize the pattern, identify the tactic as Darvo reduces its power, document evidence, keep records of conversations and actions to hold on to a reality. So that could be good if you have an experience. If let's say if you have a narcissistic boss or if you have a narcissistic coworker like I did, well, I would say for sure the coworker was a narc. As far as the bosses being narcissistic, they could definitely have the tendencies or for sure lack of empathy. And we actually did talk about defining narcissism and the difference between self-centered and egotistical. Maybe we can mention that in another video or mention it now, actually. But there is a difference because, again, we talked about how, because the term narcissist is thrown out there a lot. A lot of people like narc this, narc that, but remember, not everyone is a narc, right? Some people might just have the tendencies, um, and stuff like that, but they're not like a full blown narc. Full blown narcs are like every day, hey, this is their personality, this is what they do, it's who they are to the core. But if a person is just self-centered, or if they're egotistical, maybe they're just having a rough day, or maybe they just, I don't know, just feeling insecure about something, or feeling like they need to feel a certain way or think a certain way to get something or be something, or so it's definitely a difference between a full-blown narc and then a person that's just egotistical, or just, I don't know, maybe they're just being excessive, or they're just trying to ego boost something, or just brag or something and get some sort of result. So that there's a difference. And the other thing too, like narcissists and a person that's like egotistical and self-centered, the self-centered and egotistical person is not really doing it to hurt people per se, or like causing them pain and really trying to like harm them long term. Maybe it could just stay, like I said, with the egotistical person and the self-centered, maybe they just having a bad day and they're like, I got to feel better about myself, but they're not doing it to like maybe put somebody else down, or like harm them, or like exploit them, or gain something by hurting somebody else, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? But we'll definitely touch on that, because like I said, not everyone is a narc. I want to make that clear, because people can be like saying like, oh, I'm describing my partner, maybe he's having a rough day, he's a narc. It's like, no, he's probably just tired, he's exhausted, maybe he or she's stressed out, maybe he or she had a bad day at work, but that doesn't mean that they're a narcissist. You know what I'm saying? Versus someone that is like, had a history of like mistreatment or betrayal, being deceptive, manipulating, smear campaigns and things like that. That person, you know what I'm saying? It's a difference. But yeah. Um, let's see here. But yeah, let's go back. Okay, so the effect on victims. So um yeah, so the effect that Darvo has on his victims is self-blame. So victims may feel guilty or responsible for the abuse, confusion and doubt, questioning their own reality and perceptions, silence, fear of further attacks causes victims to stop speaking out, emotional distress, increased anxiety, depression, and lowered self-esteem. 1 second, y'all. How to respond to Darvo. So recognize. Oh yeah, I said that already. I'm sorry, y'all. But yeah, I went over everything. So Darvo is frequently used in high conflict scenarios to distort reality and manipulate third parties, such as legal proceedings or workplace investigations. So more than likely, a spiritual narcissist is more than likely to engage in Darvo. Or it could, for some, they may have narcissistic bosses, or they may have toxic bosses, or, bosses that are like, you know, about the workplace politics or the workplace drama, or they like confusion and chaos and stuff like that. But like I said, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're a narc, but they may kind of behave in a certain way sometimes, not all the time. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. But yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about today, you guys. Like I said, it's not going to be too long here. I just wanted to cover that, but we'll talk about some other topics at a later time. But I hope that this was helpful in helping you guys understand more about narcissistic collapse. Oh, and then with the Darvo, and how a narcissist reacts to criticism, um, is interesting, because narcissists do not take criticism well, right? I mean, nobody wants to be criticized, let's be honest. But with a narcissist, no, 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 don't criticize them, because again, they will maybe they'll either Darvo you, or they'll have a narcissist collapse. Really, a narcissist is like a big baby, pretty much. The narcissist is like, they will smear you, they will lie, they will cheat, they will steal. But if you do that to them, oh boy, it's like all hell breaks loose, or they'll, be the first ones to, get the authorities involved. They're a lot of them are cowards. As I said, they're very cowardly people. And they're sneaky, they hide, they throw the rock and they hide their hands, they get other people involved, the whole gang stalking thing. I know I experienced that, so I know firsthand. The whole gang, the online trolls, narcissists, they troll you, they watch you, they study you, and some of them, they try to copy you, they try to be you, and they think like it's weird, right? But anyways, you guys, I hope that this video was helpful and insightful. Oh, and I think it was another one. We're gonna talk about gray rock, y'all. We're gonna talk about gray rock. I think that is a topic for us. Hold on, let me double check before we go. I want to make sure we cover everything. So, yeah, gray rock methods for dealing with narcissists. So, if you guys don't know what gray rock is, I want to share it with you once more. But what was interesting today in the interview that we did with Becky, she was talking about how gray rock and how can this practice keep one from getting triggered, at least short term, when confronting energies that tend to be triggering. Because in the end, gray rocking really is a good technique to use against a narcissist or really a toxic person. Because really, what a narcissist wants is they want to get you to react. They want to provoke you. They want to, get you upset. They want to get you crying and making you feel a type of way. Because remember, that gives them that supply that they so desperately need from you, right? Because without your supply, they're nothing. They just collapse, right? They fall apart. They crash out, So gray rocking is really good, but again, it is good for short term because let's talk about gray rocking first, and then we'll talk about some long term things that you can do. But like I said, Becky, she provided a lot of great advice on that. Like I said, check out the interview. So again, gray rock method is a communication strategy for dealing with narcissists or abusive people by becoming as boring and emotionally flat as a gray rock to deprive them of the reactions that they seek, making interactions unrewarding and causing them to lose interest and move on. So yeah, if you're not giving the narcissist what they want, they're just going to get bored and move on. And that's what you want. You want them to get bored and you want them to move on. It involves giving short, factual, unemotional answers, avoiding personal details, and disengaging from the drama to protect your mental health, especially when you can't go no contact. And that could be, like I said, if it's for work or if it's like certain family members where it's like you can't cut off your family. Because some people are like, no, I don't want to cut off my family. And that's understandable. Some of you have that opportunity to do that. Some of you don't, and I get it. So yeah, it just depends. So yeah, be uninterested, be unemotional, limit information, and disengage. And like I said, you can use this for co-parenting with the narcissistic ex, living with an abusive family member or partner, or when you have to reduce conflict but you can't cut ties. And again, what it achieves deprives the manipulator of the drama and the attention they crave. It reduces their power and control over you and protects your emotional energy and well-being. And again, it says it is a self-help tactic, not an official clinical psychology. It says it can be challenging to maintain over time. In rare cases, it might escalate abusive behavior, so assess your safety. So be mindful when doing gray rock. Now, there's things that can trigger you. So, you do want to keep that in mind if you're around people that can trigger you. So again, it's just about, being focused. It's about being disciplined and controlling your emotions, really. And understanding, like, again, what you're dealing with, educating yourself on the topic. And like I said, just keep it short, simple, sweet, make it boring, bland. You might expect like, oh, maybe the narcissist has changed if I do the gray rock method. A lot of people are like, oh, well, if I gray rock the narcissist, does that mean they're not going to be a narc anymore? more than likely, no, they're still going to be who they are, but you have to be different because the narcissist is not going to be different, but you got to be different, unfortunately, right? But that's kind of the way that it is. But we'll kind of touch back on that too, because some people might think, well, oh, if I gray rock, then that's the end all be all. No, because you might have people that come around and try to trigger you, you know. And it's like, you know what? You be like, you don't have to say this to them, but you can be like, okay, well, in your mind, you be like, okay, I see what you're doing. I'm not going to give you the reaction. So it's like, they'll just move on. You get what I'm saying? So, but yeah, I hope that this video was helpful. Make sure that you guys give this video a like, share, and subscribe. Share it with a friend or a family member. And like I said, reach out to Becky if you want to inquire about our interview that we did today or inquire about her book called Gaslighting for God, which is beautiful. Excuse me. And it says a satirical guide to save yourself from spiritual narcissists. That's beautiful. And I'll read this here. It says a deep and sharply insightful commentary on narcissistic leadership, including valuable and practical ways to spot a predator and pastoral clothing. Wow. And that's lovely. So check out her book. You can get your copy today, and also check out my book too. For those of you that deal with narcissism in the work environment, or you've been targeted by a narcissist, like a coworker that's a narcissist, get my book called Employee to Entrepreneur. You guys can go on Amazon and check that out, or you can send me an email to inquire more. And don't forget, you guys, if you would like to be a part of the mental health events coming up, it's going to be in different states. So inquire about that. And like I said, we'll have guest speakers and vendors, you know, for those of you that want to get involved in that way. Reach out if you want to collaborate. Or if you just want to leave a donation, the link is going to be below as well. And like I said, I thank you guys in advance. We can do this, but we need to do it together as a community. If we want to, you know, support the people, show love, show people that we care, you know, make sure that people have the resources and the tools available to help, you know, defend themselves against these narcissists. I'm telling you guys, these narcissists are not going anywhere. They're here, but us normal people are not going anywhere either. So we're going to have to learn how to protect ourselves, right? We're going to have to learn how to survive during these times, because like I said, no one's really openly gonna tell us like, hey, this is a narc, hey, your boss is a narc, or hey, your coworker's a narc. Like, you get what I'm saying? You're gonna have to find out the hard way. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and sign out. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you all in the next video. Take care. Bye, guys.